Good morning, students. Now, this session we are going to discuss about GOTO. Already in previous sessions we discussed break and continue. And as we already know, we have three types of jump statements. We have by using jump statements, we can jump to one part of code to another part of the code in a program. And already in previous sessions, we discussed break and continue. And this session will discuss about GOTO. By using GOTO also, we can here we can transfer the control to one part of the code to another part of the code. Okay, by using goto also we can transfer, means we can shift one part of the code to other part of the program. But how we can transfer, how we can shift to one part of the code to another part of the code in a program. And all these goto is worked based on the labels. Labels are very important in this goto. By using labels only, goto will be work. Okay, that's why by using labels only we can transfer the control to one part of the code to another part of the code. How, what is labels? Means before going to the labels, first we have to know about types of jump. Types of jump in goto. Types of jumps in goto. How many ways we can jump in goto jump statement? Here we have two types of jump statements in goto: forward jump and backward jump. What is forward jump and what is backward jump we'll discuss. And this is the syntax for forward jump. For example, if you observe here I am writing go to label. Okay, as we already know, here go to is worked based on the label. Here we have to give one label. Label means one name. Okay, that name is your choice. User can give any name as the label. Okay, go to label. Okay, whenever control is read, whenever the compiler is read this label, immediately control is jump to this label. Okay, and where is label? Label is declared somewhere else in the program, but label is also declared inside the program only, but somewhere else in the program. That's why whenever this compiler will read this go to label, immediately control is jump to the label part. Where is label? Here. Label is here. Whatever the label statements are there, that statement will be executed. What about this remaining in between the statement? These statements will be skipped. These statements will be skipped. That's why this type of jump is called forward jump. Why? Because whenever the label is called, based on the label, control is immediately jump to the particular label statements. In between, whatever the statements are there, these statements will be skipped. Okay, if you observe, for example, if control is in third line and this one 4, 5, 6, and this is in seventh line, whenever the label part is calling, whenever the go to label, whenever this line is executed, immediately control is directly jump to the third line to seventh line of the program. Okay, if you observe here. Okay, what about remaining 4, 5, 6? These statements are skipped. Okay, in forward jump, if you are using forward jump in your program, what will happen? In between, some of the statements are skipped in forward jump. Okay, coming to the backward jump, and this is the syntax for the backward jump. Backward jump means will shift back to the program. Okay, for example, here already you know program execution is starting from top to bottom. First this statement will be executed irrespective of the label. This statement is executed, and this one is a second statement. For example, if you are giving number third, 4, 5, second statement is executed, third statement is executed, next fourth is executed, next fifth is also executed, and next sixth statement is go to label. What we are inserting here? Go to label means again we are calling save label statements. Whenever this statement is executed, immediately control is shift back to this label. Where is the label? That label is already declared somewhere else in the program, that is forward or backward. Here we are using backward jump. That's why whenever we are using label, whenever we are calling the label, immediately control is shift back to the label statement. Okay, if you observe here, whenever this control is shift back to the label, and again the statement is executed, and next third statement, next fourth statement, and fifth statement, and all these three, four, five statements are repeatedly executed in backward jump. That is the difference between forward jump and backward jump. If you observe here in forward jump, when if you are using forward jump in your program, some of the statements are skipped, and coming to the backward jump, if you are using backward jump in your program, some of the statements are continuously, that means repeatedly executed. Okay, that is the difference between forward and backward jump, and this backward jump is worked based on the condition. Based on the condition, these statements are repeatedly executed. Okay, this is the differences between forward jump and backward jump. Okay, next we'll discuss on with the examples. Okay, next, this is the example for forward jump. Okay, by using forward jump, here I am going to check whether the number is even or odd. Okay, I want to read one number, and I want to check that number is even or odd. Okay, and that's why first I'll read one variable num, and already you know how to read that number using scanf function. First read that number using scanf function. After reading that number, what is your problem statement? We need to check this number is even or odd. What is the formula for check the number is even or odd? That number is divisible with 2, then we'll get remainder is 0, then that number is even. Okay, if that number is divisible with 2, we'll get remainder is 0, that is even, otherwise odd. That's why, for example, if I'll read number 10, let's assume if I'll read number 10. Okay, here what is the number here? 10. 10 modulo 2. 10 modulo 2 remainder is 0. Remainder is 0. 0 is equal to 0. Condition satisfied. Whenever the condition is satisfied, this if block will be executed. What is the if block here? Go to even. Okay, go to even means what is your label here? Even is our label name. What is our label name? Even, and odd is our label names. When this even label is executed, whenever this if condition is satisfied, then only this even label is executed, otherwise odd label is executed. But here in this example, if I'll read num is 10, 10 modulo 2 is equal to 0 as condition satisfied, then what is the if block statement here? Go to even. Go to even. Where is the even label? The even label is also declared in same program. And where is even? And control will go and check the even label. Where is even label? Here. Here even label is there. That's why control is immediately jump to the even label. Okay. If you observe, in between these statements are skipped. In between these statements are skipped, as we discussed before. In forward jump, some of the statements are skipped. Okay, based on the label, control is immediately jump to the even label. Whatever the statements are there in even label, that statements will be executed. What is the statement under even label? Printf percentile d is even. What is percentile d? Is num. What is number here? 10. 10 is even. Okay, and why I am using return 0 here? Why? Because if you remove this return 0, for example, if you remove this return 0, after printing this percentile d is even number, and according to the flow of execution, next statement will also executed. If you remove return 0 here, what is next statement? Odd print of percentile d is odd, means 10 is odd. That's why whatever our expected statement, if you remove return 0 here, 10 is even and 10 is odd. Okay, that's why we'll not get our expected output. Okay, what is our expected output? If your number is 10, 10 is even number. After printing this statement, immediately I want to come out of the program. That's why here I am using return 0. If you remove this return 0, next statement is also executed, but I don't want to execute this next statement. Why? Because after getting my expected output, I want to come out of the program. That's why I'm using return 0. Okay, for example, if I change n value is 5, if I change n value is 5, If n value is 5, 5 modulo 2 is equal to 0. No, no. Remainder is 1. 1 is equal to 0. No. 1 is not equal to 0. This condition false. Which condition is false? If condition is false. If condition is false means this if block is not executed. This if block is not executed. Then which block is executed? If block condition is not satisfied, control will go and execute the else block. What is else block statement here? In else block I am calling the label odd. In else block I am calling the label odd. Go to odd means here I am giving the message to the compiler. Okay, whenever the else block is executed, control will go and execute the odd block. Where is odd block? This odd label is also declared in same program but somewhere else in the program. Whenever this odd label is called, immediately control is jump to the odd label. These statements, in between these statements are skipped. Directly it will go and execute the odd label. Whatever the statements under the odd label, the statements will be executed. What is that statement printer? Percentile d is odd. What is the percentile d? Number. What is number here? Here I am reading number 5. 5 is odd number. And here return 0. Here I am using int main red. That's the return 0. Okay. This is the example for forward jump. Forward jump means whenever the label is there, immediately the control will go and execute that label statement. In between that statements will be skipped in forward jump. For example, next example for the backward jump, and by using this backward jump I am going to calculate the multiplication table. What is my expected output here by using this program? For example, if I'll read second means I want to print second table. 2 into 2 are 2 ones are 2, 2 twos are 4, like this. 2 tens are 20. This is my expected output. I'm going to print this multiplication table using GOTO, and in GOTO also here I am using backward jump. Means repeatedly some of the statements are repeatedly executed. That's why here if you observe, first read the number means which table you want to print. Okay, first read that number, and here I am using loop condition. That's why here I am using one more variable I is initially declared, I initialized with 1, and first read that number, and here my number is 2 means I am going to print second table, or else you can print with 5 10. Okay, this program is applicable for all numbers. And next, after reading that number, irrespective of the label, the statement is executed. Printf percentile d into percentile d is equal to percentile d. First percentile d is mapped with number, second percentile d is mapped with I, third percentile d is mapped with num into I. What is number here? 2 into what is second percentile d? I. What is I value? 1. That's why 2 into 1 is equal to num into 1. Num ante 2. Num value is 2. 2 I value 1. 2 into 1 2. That's why what is my designing pattern in my output console output screen? 2 into 1 is equal to 2. 2 ones are 2. That's why 2 ones are 2. Yes, first statement is printed. Next, I plus plus. Initial I value 1. Now after updating, what is I value? I value 2. Okay, and 2 less than or equal to 10. Yes, condition true. 2 is less than or equal to 10. Condition true. If condition true, next go to table. What is table here? My label name is table. Where is the table label here? Whenever where is that the table label is there, that control is immediately shift to the label name table. Okay, if you observe here, here actually control is here in this line, but whenever this table label is called, immediately control is shift back to the label name table. Okay, like this is backward jump. Actually control is here, but after executing the statement, control is shift back to the table. Okay, this type of jump is called backward jump. And go to table, and again cursor control is shift to table, and again these statements are executed. Printf percentile d into percentile d is equal to percentile d. Percentile d, first percentile d is number is constant here. I is updated to 2. 2 twos are is equal to, here also 2, 2 into 2 4, 2 twos are is equal to 4, and again I plus plus, now I value is 3, 3 less than or equal to 10, yes, condition true, condition true means go to table, and again this block will be again executed, and next print the statement, 2 threes are 6, like this, 2 tens are 20, up to these numbers will be printed, and again whenever I plus plus, after 10 now I value is 11, let's assume like that, 11 less than or equal to 10, condition false, at one point of time I value will be updated to 10 11, and whenever I value is 11, 11 less than or equal to 10, condition false, if condition false, control will not enter into the if block, then directly it will come to the outside the if block, and next immediate statement is closing the program, the program will be closed, and what is our expected output, a multiplication table will be printed. Okay, if you observe, as we discussed before, in backward gem continuously some of the statements are repeatedly executed. If you observe here also, if whenever you are calling the label name table, these three statements are continuously executed based on this condition. Okay, this is the difference between forward jump and backward jump. Okay, forward jump and backward jump, both these jumps are worked based on the label. In forward jump, some of the statements are skipped in this forward jump, but in backward jump some of the statements are repeatedly executed. Okay, this is the example and explanation of the go to jump statement. Okay, I hope you understand this go to statement. We'll meet on next session. Thank you.